My name is Toland Krieger. I directed the short in Doha, Qatar, for a city that's 11 years old. Doha is just gigantic and overwhelming.
In early 2008, we did a film that Lee wrote and directed and I produced called The Vicious Kind. And that was a film that we were fortunate enough to play at Sundance in 2009. Last summer, Lee directed a film called Celeste Jesse Forever. Again, went to Sundance, was released this summer. And when the opportunity came up to do this short film, we kind of got the band back together, and the only thing was we were doing it halfway across the world in Doha.
I came up with this idea of a couple that has been talking online for quite a while, 2 years, and having them meet at the W Hotel. What happens when you really have two people that have this love for each other, but they have this medium through which they've never transcended? In terms of inspirations, I think a lot about like Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, because they're sort of like romance stories, but they don't feel romantic.
If you want to know what perfection looks like, check what perfection looks like. Alright, let's cut it.
That's a cut. That's a cut.
Really loved it because it's sort of this simple but felt very contemporary, and creating an alter ego for yourself that's sort of out in the world in a digital form is really compelling to me.
Doha is kind of a magical city. When I arrived at the airport, my driver to the hotel was pointing out to me all of the amazing landmarks, and literally every building that we walked by is like architectural gold. There's no part of this city that isn't spectacular.
The W Doha is tailored to Doha, in that the scope of the hotel feels a little bit bigger, like everything else in the city. And it worked perfectly for our story because our protagonist, Oscar, who's played by Robert Schwartzman, is supposed to come into this hotel and feels very much like a fish out of water. Robert's one of these guys who pops in and out of acting roles in between tours. He's a very successful musician as well. But the roles he does do, there's a real vulnerability that kind of radiates through all of Robert's performances.
I started my band Rooney in high school, so I dabbled in acting. I never was like, I'm gonna be an actor, let's do this. And my cousin made a movie called The Virgin Suicides. I read for her movie and she cast me in it. It was like my first experience having a part. It's exciting to come to a place that's changing rapidly and to say we were here now and then to see what it is in 10 years from now. So it's cool, but it's very different.
Make sure that they're not aiming for us. No, that side. B, do you copy? B, do you copy? There you go.
The Dow boats were designed for pearl diving. It's sort of a pearl diving community. They're these beautiful old wooden boats, and we were lucky enough to get one, but of course you need a camera boat because we were going to do some boat-to-boat photography and then a support boat. And again, this is a small shoot, so kind of figuring out the logistics of that was challenging.
It was so funny because Lee kept being like, are you guys okay? Is there anything? And we were like, mate, we're loving this. I'm like sitting with a breeze in my hair, just kind of like, do you know what? I'm doing all right actually, Lee. I'm doing pretty fine here. This is pretty awesome.
We got sort of stranded for a while, and we had to kind of put equipment on another boat, which was then carried off to a bigger boat before we could go into shore, and that ate up a couple hours of our first day, which was already a very busy first day.
How do you feel being rescued, Naomi?
This is brilliant. This is great.
We also wanted to shoot in this old marketplace. It was very busy and filled with locals.
I think it was an old market that they kind of tore down and then rebuilt it. The things that we were surprised about, we genuinely were probably surprised about.
The camera that we were using was a new generation of this, Alexa camera, which was smaller than the previous generation, and the Ultrabooks are smaller and lighter and just easier to pop into a backpack, grab a couple actors and go shoot them.
Giving filmmakers creative freedom to work on these stories is kind of extraordinary, especially in a time when people aren't really supporting the arts. It reminds you a little bit of new wave of American filmmakers, and I feel like Intel and W are really trying to channel that energy, which is a rare thing and really exciting to be a part of.